Assalamualaikum to everybody. Today we're gonna learn how to use 5 sentences in essay. Let's get started.
These igneous intrusions are like windows onto an
Let's get started.
These igneous intrusions are like windows onto an ancient world.
Oh, hey, Moby. I'm just catching up on all the educational shows I missed during finals. Why would you want to watch a show about lowering CEOs into shark-infested waters when you could be learning about the relationship between a rock's depth and its crystal structure? But it's the first day of summer vacation. Dear Tim and Moby, I'm supposed to write a 5-paragraph essay and I don't know where to start. Please help. Toby. Well, Toby, you should probably start with paragraph 1. Fine. The 5-paragraph essay is a tried-and-true format writers use in a few different contexts. To present and explain information in an expository essay, to describe an experience, person, or thing and bring it to life in a descriptive essay, or to argue an opinion in a persuasive essay. All 3 formats have the same essential structure. They make a claim or main argument and show evidence to support it. The 5-paragraph formula helps you organize your ideas and stay focused on the goal, presenting your position clearly and convincingly. Right, it's got 5 paragraphs. An introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. The introduction is where you set up the essay, like making a map of what it'll be about. It helps to start with a hook, meant to grab the reader's interest. It can be an interesting story, a relevant quote, or a cool fact related to the topic. Say you're writing a persuasive essay, and the topic is the case for a longer school year. Okay. Your hook could be a statistic about how it's done in other countries. Plenty of countries have much shorter summer vacations than Americans do. Now, after the hook, you introduce your topic with some background. You might note that most American school districts take 2 to 3 months off, but some have started experimenting with shorter summer breaks. Then you wrap up your intro with the thesis statement. The thesis is your claim, summarizing your position on the topic plus your reasoning. In other words, it states your argument and elaborates on how you'll prove it. The thesis statement is really important. It's sort of like a mini outline, setting up the whole structure of your essay. It's a good idea to include 3 reasons supporting your argument, because they become the subjects of the 3 body paragraphs. So your thesis could be that extending the school year will help lower-income students, improve test scores, and keep kids busy. And then we know what to write about in every body paragraph. Each body paragraph develops a single point and begins with a topic sentence, which is like the paragraph's thesis. It restates one of the reasons presented in the main thesis statement. So, for example, body paragraph 1 could have this topic sentence. A longer school year would level the playing field for low-income students. The rest of the paragraph develops that topic sentence using evidence. For instance, you could write that all students experience the summer slide, forgetting some of the year's learning over break, and cite research about how the losses are biggest for low-income kids, including possible reasons why, because of differences in opportunities like camps and other enrichment. Throughout the body paragraph, make sure you keep your goal in mind. All evidence should support the topic sentence, which supports the thesis. Yep, the next 2 body paragraphs follow the same format. Take a reason from your thesis statement and expand on it to prove your claim. Each body paragraph focuses on a separate point, but they're all part of one bigger argument. So, to ease the switch from one point to the next, link up the paragraphs with transitions. They form bridges from one section to the next, so your argument flows well. Sometimes it'll work to add in a word or phrase like also, in addition, or plus. But usually it'll sound better to rework the whole sentence. Try picking up the thought from the previous paragraph. There, you were talking about how kids forget stuff over the summer, and this next paragraph is about improving test scores. So you could transition by saying that one consequence of the summer slide is lower test scores. Speaking of transitions, Moby, I'm not really into this idea of a longer school year. Well, I think kids need plenty of time to rest and relax over the summer. More school might just lead to more stress and... Fine, moving on. The fifth paragraph is the conclusion, where you restate your argument and wrap things up. The conclusion has the reverse structure of the introduction. Instead of moving from the general topic to a specific argument, it moves from specific to general. So you begin by restating your specific claim and supporting ideas. But you don't want a word-for-word repetition of your thesis. That's kind of boring, so paraphrase or reword it instead. Like, a longer school year is worth exploring as a way to close the achievement gap, raise test scores, and keep young minds engaged. And you can transition with a phrase indicating that you're wrapping things up. Like, in conclusion, in summary, or how about given the evidence. Lastly, you have a chance to extend your argument with some final insight. Like, you could finish up a story you began in the intro, or explain the importance of your argument. Schools across America should extend their school days through July, effective immediately. The future of our nation depends on it. Not bad, even though I still don't agree. Something to keep in mind is that not all essays follow the 5-paragraph format. Some are longer and more complex, or they present parts in a different order. As you grow as a writer, you'll learn how to play around with the formula too. In the meantime, the 5-paragraph structure will help you master the basics, organizing your ideas to make a strong, well-supported argument. Where'd you go? Finally, some peace and quiet so I can get back to my show.
Breaking news. A brilliant new essay has convinced the local Board of Education to extend the school year through July. Area students should report back to their classrooms tomorrow morning. Released into its natural habitat, the CEO asserts dominance over the other sharks. He is their leader now.
The next thing we're gonna learn is still. The next thing we're gonna learn is to continue learning the why essay is important for school teachers and students. Let's get started. Today we're gonna learn why is the main idea essay. Let's get started.
Listen to me, alright? You listen to me, you little magnets. When I say you can play, you can play. When I say you can play. Get your booty hole over. Don't even think about it.
Ah, gross. I wish other people would ride their bikes instead of always using cars. Dear Tim and Moby, I don't understand what my teacher means when he asks me to find the main idea. Can you help me? From Gladys. Sure, Gladys. The main idea is just the main point that's being stated in a paragraph, essay, article, or other passage. It's what's specifically being said about a particular topic. The topic of a paragraph or passage is the general subject. Okay, well, say you're reading an article about how cheetahs can run at very high speeds. The topic would be cheetahs, because that's the general subject of the article, cheetahs. And the main idea would be that cheetahs can run fast, because that's the point the article is trying to get across. Details support what the author is trying to say with examples. They're sort of like evidence as to why the main idea is true. The details would explain what makes a cheetah run so fast, how fast it can run, things like that. Alright, let's read this paragraph and try to find the main idea. Not only is smoking cigarettes a disgusting and smelly habit, it's also extremely bad for your health. It has been proven to cause cancer, lung disease, and heart disease, and to weaken your immune system. Smoking makes it a lot harder to breathe, which means it's more difficult to play sports and get the exercise you need to stay healthy. It is also harmful for those hanging around a smoker because they breathe the smoky air. Even though most people are aware of how bad smoking is for them, more than 1,000 people die each day from its effects. So first, let's figure out the topic. What would you say the topic is, the general subject that this paragraph is discussing? That's right, the topic is smoking, specifically cigarette smoking. Now, let's try to find the main idea. To find the main idea, ask yourself, what point is the writer trying to make? It's always helpful to skim through the passage again and see what words are repeated and what idea the author is trying to stress or get across. What do you think the main idea is, Moby? Well, the writer is saying that smoking is gross, but more specifically that smoking is bad for your health. You can tell this from the details in the paragraph, that smoking causes cancer and heart and lung disease, that it makes you sick, and that it makes it hard to breathe. Sometimes the main idea will be at the start of a paragraph or article. In the passage we just read, the writer pretty much stated the main idea in the first sentence. But the main idea can be stated anywhere in a piece of text. Sometimes it's in the second or third paragraph, for instance, or sometimes it'll come at the very end as a conclusion. It's not always that clear, though, and sometimes you have to do a little more work to figure it out. One important thing to remember is that sometimes you're going to have to reread the passage and go back to it a few times to get a good sense of what's being discussed. Let's look at the newspaper article that Moby was reading earlier. When we can, it's important to carpool, use public transportation like buses and trains, ride a bike, or walk instead of driving a car. These things release fewer dangerous toxins into the air. You may not realize it, but air pollution is becoming a bigger problem every day. It is terribly damaging to the environment and the air we breathe. For this reason, we should try to cut back on harmful emissions. One of the best ways to reduce pollution is to use methods of transportation that are less harmful to the environment. So what would you say are the topic and main idea in this passage? Right, the topic is air pollution. And the main idea is that driving cars less helps reduce air pollution. Yes, and riding your bike is a good way to do that. Anyway, if you're ever stuck on finding a main idea, it helps to ask yourself general questions about the passage. They can be things like, is it about a person, an idea or theory, an event? That way you can start by getting a broader idea of what's being discussed. Another helpful thing you do is pretend that someone has asked you what the paragraph or essay is about. If you can give an answer that sums up the passage in just one sentence, you've probably got the main idea. But we just got home. Where are we supposed to ride our bikes to? What do you mean we can't stop riding our bikes? I'm not so sure you got the main idea of that article.
The next thing we're gonna learn is how to use research essays. Let's get started.
Aha! I've cracked this baby wide open. Summer in 1903, an army of kids marching from Philadelphia to New York. That's like over 100 miles. Okay, yeah, maybe a break would do me good. Dear Tim and Moby, I have to do a research report, but I don't know where to start and I'm freaking out. Can you help? From Nitin. Sure thing, Nitin. It's normal to feel a little nervous at the beginning of a research project. Whenever I start working on a new Brain Pop movie, I get a little weird. The topic always seems so big, and I feel like I know less than nothing about it. But that's the point of research, to gather information so you can figure out what to focus on. Like I'm doing here for my project on the Progressive Era. Right, when we got that letter, I didn't know much about the topic. Beyond, like, it was a period when there was lots of progress? It turns out it was this time of amazing transformation for our country. Women's suffrage, Teddy Roosevelt, the labor movement, World War I. It's tempting to try to squeeze in all the cool stuff you learn about a topic. But your project will be way more interesting if you focus on one or two things. So step one is to narrow the scope, or how much you're going to cover. And that'll depend on the size of your project. Mine is a 5 or so minute movie. That's a smaller scope than a 10-page paper, or, say, a whole book. Yeah, I still couldn't define my scope until I knew more about the topic. To figure out where I wanted to focus, I did some pre-search. That's just what it sounds like, gathering info to focus your main research. I needed a general overview, so I started with this encyclopedia entry. Turns out, labor reform was a huge issue during the Progressive Era. Workers across the country fought to improve terrible conditions in factories and mills. So then I asked myself, which parts do I want to know more about? I saw this picture of little kids operating this gigantic machine. And, I got a little, obsessed. Child labor was common until the Progressive Era changed things. Kids younger than I am had to work in factories, mines, and other dangerous places. They put in 12 and 14-hour days for low pay. Permanent injury and death were everyday risks. And if they didn't work hard enough, they could be beaten. So then, get this. A labor activist called Mother Jones led hundreds of child workers on a protest march from Philadelphia all the way to New York City, and then on to President Theodore Roosevelt's summer home in Long Island. They called it the March of the Mill Children. Right. Phrasing my topic as a research question helped me define my scope. And I think mine is pretty good. How did the March of the Mill Children help child workers? It's open-ended. There are several possible answers. It's specific enough that I can probably answer it in my project. And, most importantly, I really want to know the answer. It's way more exciting than just what was the Progressive Era, right? Okay, slow down. It's easy to get excited and go off in all directions. That's actually a sign of a good research question. It makes you want to find out more. But stay focused. Our goal is to find out the answer to that main question. Any smaller sub-questions you choose need to help us get there. Like, what were working conditions like for these kids? What prompted them to go on a protest march? Who were some of the marchers, and what happened to them? Choosing your sub-questions and putting them in order is a bit like writing an outline. They'll identify the main areas of your research, which will later be the main sections of your project. To answer these questions, we'll need sources, things like books, articles, videos, and podcasts. You can start by searching online. Think of search terms related to your research questions. Our internet search movie has good strategies for getting the best results. Don't forget, you can always change your questions as you learn more. Research isn't a straight line. You might return to earlier steps or come up with new questions along the way. And if you have access to a library, make some time to go there. You might discover sources that you couldn't find online. Plus, librarians know about all kinds of things, great search tips, and unusual sources. To find the most relevant info, flip through a book's table of contents at the beginning or its index at the back. Or read the headline and first few sentences of an article. Like, in this big boy, we can skip right to Chapter 8 to read about the march. Hold up, don't just copy down everything on the page. Limit your notes to things that'll help you answer your research questions. Like examples or facts written in your own words or paraphrased. Direct quotes using quotation marks with the source clearly labeled. Summaries of a source's opinions. And your own ideas about what you read. I like to put each note on a separate card with the source's author on the back. That makes it easy to write a bibliography or list of sources. And you can organize each card under the research question it goes with. Hello there, Pally. Before you go back to TV, you gotta help me put together this outline. January 15th, 1919, 21 dead in Boston molasses flood. Tank explosion sends 2 million gallons of treacle oozing through the streets of downtown Boston. This is just the kind of public safety disaster that defines the progressive era. Shut it down. We're starting over from scratch.
This is why I said let me do it. This is why I said let me do it. This is why I said let me do it.
The next thing we're gonna learn is the next thing we continue learning about is 6th grade math, 6th grade science, 6th grade science work. If you learn this, if you got it, if you're in 6th grade, if you're 6th grade, this video for you. If you're in 10th grade or 9th grade, if you forgot it, there's a review for you. Now listen up. We will explain why math is important in this video. Let's continue.
Can't solve cube puzzle. Getting angry. Thank you. Dear Tim and Moby, what are mass, volume, and density? And why are they important? Love, Kira. Mass, volume, and density are all physical properties of matter. Matter is anything in the universe that takes up space. It makes up everything that you can see, feel, taste, or touch. And mass, volume, and density are measurements that we can take of material objects. Why do we measure stuff? Well, basically to understand it better and to compare it to other stuff. For example, we measure time in hours, minutes, and seconds. Can you imagine if we had no way of measuring time? We wouldn't know when to go to school, when to come home, when the next episode of Battlestar Galactica was on. And if we couldn't measure the mass, volume, and density of objects, we'd be just as confused about what they are and why they act the way they do. Right, measurements also help us standardize stuff. In the science lab, we use the metric system for all our measurements. Its basic units are the meter for length, the liter for volume, and the gram for mass. Because the metric system is used all over the world, scientists everywhere can compare their discoveries and ideas without too much confusion. Now, let's measure this cube. We'll start with its mass. Mass is a measurement of how much matter an object contains. In a lab, we measure it with a balance or a scale. Let's see, the cube's mass is about 250 grams. Well, weight is different from mass. Weight is actually a measure of the effect gravity has on an object. And it's measured in newtons, not in grams. For example, on Earth, this cube weighs 2.5 newtons. But on the Moon, where the gravity is only 1/6 as strong as Earth's gravity, the cube only weighs 1/6 as much. No matter where it is, though, the cube's mass is always the same, 250 grams. Now to volume. The cube's volume is a measure of how much space it takes up. Since this object is a solid, the volume is measured in cubic centimeters. And you can calculate it by multiplying its length by its width by its height. Well, liquid volume is measured in liters. 1 milliliter takes up the same amount of space as 1 cubic centimeter. And while it's easy to measure the volume of a cube, it's a little more difficult with an irregularly shaped object, like this pebble. Matter displaces liquid, and that's a fancy way of saying it takes up space. If you can measure the amount of liquid that the object displaced, then you found the volume of the object. Before we dropped this rock into it, the water had a volume of 50 milliliters. After we dropped it in, the water level rose to 70 milliliters. So we know that the pebble has a volume of 20 milliliters, or 20 cubic centimeters since it's a solid. Ah, density. Density measures how heavy something is for its size. Are its atoms packed close together or far apart? We can calculate density by dividing an object's mass by its volume. Let's see, the mass was 250 grams, and the volume was 1,000 cubic centimeters. 250 over 1,000 is 0.25. So the density of this cube is 0.25 grams per cubic centimeter. Pretty impressive, huh? Okay, now you're just showing off.
Good job on using that big pot, okay? I know this building, okay? I will another one. Okay? I just took it helps a lot.
Today, we continue learning about President. And today, we're learning why every September 11th is a very important day. Let's get started. You can learn that if you forgot, it's a very important show. Now you better pay attention.
So let me get you a gun before, and then just stand still. Whoa, what happened here? Stand. Oh, finally, this gun. But I also a pistol. So I'm not very happy. How do you do that? You just stand still. Yeah. Pretty easy. Stand still. Hello? He's disrespecting you, girl. You're standing over your green light. Yes. Yeah. Go to lazy lake. I know Holly Hedges. I mean, go to a yellow one.
You're gonna learn is some algebra. Before that, you're gonna learn um, you're gonna learn a one class is started a time. Think of this. What time do you think you what time? Ah, I'll be right back. But I'll be right back. Let's go. Give me 5 minutes.
I barely know how to didn't do it. Bro, who ate my Nutella? I did. Why you drink this? I told you guys. What's going on? I'm going to eat all of it. Alright, let's stop this. Continue eating.
Please, I don't want it.
Eat it. Eat the half. Oh, yeah. Okay, wait. Alright. Here's inside. Bro, this is so fun. Wait, who is my teammate?
Who and who? You'll find out.
Virtual. That's not right. Yeah, I'm good. Just edit for me. Edit. I know how to edit, but it's kind of hard. Open it, edit. I'm a too much pop. Wait, 100 on, I think Amir. My.
White space is something else. White space is something else.
Why do we not do this for well? Bro, it ain't even building.
It's yours.
I could jump, bro. I could edit my own build. No. No. I could edit. Man, why you gotta kill me?
It's white space is white.
Now you're in it. Yeah, that's at least you have the.
Say 33 people want to join friendship. So why so friendly? Say 33 people want to friendship.
Bro, can you chill? I'm kicking out people. I'm literally kicking out people. I'm gonna listen to it tomorrow. I'm doing my right now.
Which one?
I'm sorry about that.
So which one? Abdurrahman and who?
Yeah.
Abdurrahman, Amir, or someone else?
What? Yeah. I said, come on, don't build for that. Build. Man, why would I?
我这样，来这个走的，早一下这个也走。
Yeah.
然后我转这种，啊，哪一个？这忙，我
I could hit them. Let me just beat them mid-shield. Let me beat them. I'm gonna beat them. I'm gonna beat them. I put the mid-shield. You're supposed to be behind me, okay? I'm the mid-shield.
我说啥单位？我怎么还没事？
15.
我给不进来，我怎么俺这边来可就没有了，是吧？反正可能未来的情况还是好。他不是啥都干了，不是啥都。
I cannot.
我不是这些。
Right here. Yeah, I know, but 100, nigga, 100, right here. Oh shit. But shut up, I did more damage than you did. I'm extending. Bro, end it. I cannot end it, man. Chill. I'm in my 40 man. Come, 40. Yes,
سنين خلاص منظري لا تطلب ما في عم تطلب
Today we're gonna know learn how. Let's get started. Let's continue. Next thing is water. Let's get started.
Yeah, I got this, man. You were just babying me, man. I'm not a baby. I got this. Look at me sit and edit by myself, okay?
Today we're taking learning 16 science. Let's get started.
I still record right here. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's way easier to make content. Bro, y'all gotta chill.
Today we're learning 6th grade.
I'm listening.
Let's get started.
Let's go right here. Right here. Right here. Let's go. I knocked them. Yeah. Let's go from here.
Today we're learning. Today we're learning how to make a pizza. Let's get started.
Yes, I know how to build. It's all and some other shit. I put them in a box. I put just my stair. I already edited them. I have them boxed up like fish. Oh shit. I'm coming up there.
Noun with a 6 words kind.
Oh shit! I ripped the wheel on the first.
So what do you notice so far?
Man, this is my first. It's like my third day or second. This is my second. This is my. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yes. Actually, that was some. Alright, build for us. Build for us. I'm just gonna be the windshield.
This is 6 words.
I'm gonna run in. Edit, man. This is your job. I killed him 200 bucks. 200. No. Okay.
Dear parents, if your kids or if you have a kids or a kid want to do this, we need some ingredients, something let's review it. We need
That was going for me. Oh shit, man. Oh shit, he killed my ass. Don't talk now. I'm gonna hear some people going on. He doesn't have to run in just like how I do. They have me in their wall. Shit, I'm right behind them. I killed him for you. I finished. He's off the dial. I'm running. I killed him. I killed him. I just jumped up and dropped him.
Next thing I'm gonna do is
Oh shit! I saw him coming. What the? Are you gonna really?
let's
Oh,
refresh that.
Amir wants a match. Alright. Yeah, alright. Alright, don't do it like this. Don't do it like this. Don't do it. I don't have my AirPods, so of course. Guys, don't do it. Oh,
I'm sorry. You said that? Let's refresh that.
I used to clap this. I used to clap it.
Never mind. We can't do stuff like today.
Cause he had a whole ass man. Man is sitting. How did you hit me that hard? I did. I'm already good. They want to run football season, and it's the people to charge the other. y'all cannot fight me. Oh shit! This man just came from my back. Man, I mean, you really have to do me. You really have to do me like that. You really have to do me.
The next thing I'm gonna do is just listen to a story. Let's get started.
I'm gonna play it on my TV for the first week, and then after. Oh shit, you was dancing on me, man. You was dancing. I saw you dance. It was some kind of dance. It was doing some kind of emo. I'm here. What emo were you doing? Oh, I see what he did there. I see what he did. Alright. I have 4 kills. Oh shit, right there. Oh my god, he's not good. You're gonna die either. You're gonna die either. Yeah. Bro, we gotta take out that Amir. Bro, then we gotta get him out, man. He always be shooting. Let me get him! Which one? Which one, man? Which one? Man, sure. I got this. I'm rushing.
It's
Oh, shit,
December
I got a this.
2020.
Never
No.
mind.
Let's make a calendar.
Help me, I phased through. I phased through and I phased back down.
Monday,
No, don't do what I did to you.
Tuesday,
Don't do what I did to you.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
No, he shook me down.
What day of the week is it today?
And he killed me after.
Great job.
He killed me after.
Today is Wednesday,
He knows where you're
December
at, but he don't know where
2nd, 2020. 10th, Hanukkah, winter solstice, first day of winter,
Fight me like a man.
Boxing Day, Kwanzaa begins, Christmas Day, second Wednesday, great.
Oh, this is where he killed me.
Goodbye.
Oh,
If you're in second grade or third grade, this is for you, and that's enough.
he's gonna end
If
it.
you're in kindergarten,
I told you.
if you're in kindergarten,
I told your ass. I told
this
you.
is for your third grade siblings, or if you're just for your second grade or third grade. Let's get started.
Dad, how did this not? This
My
is not.
race car is powered by. Choose a
Yes, I'm editing. Yes, I edited.
rocket.
I always do editing. You didn't even see. Oh shit, I'm here on me. I don't want to die again. I don't want to die again. And where's the name? And then you burn the acronym. Oh my god, he's doing this on me. Doing
Bounce.
right here. Ahmed, let's go out. Let's talk. So how's your day? I'm dead. You're dead.
Will.
Yeah, you too.
ama gabadha hooyadeed laba wasbaa way noqdaan marka imika waa gabadha